great to see representatives from so many different schools and school districts here today. On behalf of the North Syracuse Central School District, I want to welcome you to Cicero North Syracuse High School. It's an honor to have you all here today. And I want to extend a special welcome to our distinguished guests from local, state, and national government, including but not limited to the Secretary of Commerce, Gina Raimondo, and the Governor of New York State, Kathy Hochul, along with representatives from Micron, the American Federation of Teachers, and the New York State United Teachers Association. We are excited to host this important event right here in North Syracuse Central School District, the future home of Micron's semiconductor chip plant. The impacts of our growing partnership will come to life right here in these hallways and classrooms, along with classrooms throughout Central New York and New York State over the next several years. This meeting reflects the strength of collaboration between education, industry, and government. Micron's decision to invest in our community, building a multi-billion-dollar facility within the district, is a transformative opportunity for students, families, and the greater Syracuse area. The partnership opens new doors for students, families, and it creates the opportunity for innovation, job creation, and education, and paves the way for a future where our students can thrive academically and professionally. Our collaboration with AFT and NYSET ensures that as we grow, we continue to focus on delivering world-class education to every student. Their commitment to education, coupled with Micron's vision for the future, makes this an exciting time to be part of the North Syracuse Central School District and the Central New York community. Thank you for all being here, for being part of this exciting time, and once again, welcome to CNS High School. At this time, I am honored and proud to introduce the Secretary of Commerce, Gina Raimondo. She is focused on a simple but vital mission: make America more competitive by spurring good-paying jobs, empowering entrepreneurs to innovate and grow, and advancing our economic and national security. She has championed President Biden's Investing in America agenda, including the CHIPS and Science Act. Secretary Raimondo has been called America's point woman on AI and was featured on 60 Minutes for her leadership on national security issues, including U.S. semiconductor chip production. Secretary Raimondo was formerly the 75th governor of Rhode Island and its first woman governor. As governor, she kickstarted the state's economy and made record investments in infrastructure, education, and job training by focusing on creating economic opportunities and good-paying jobs for all Rhode Islanders. We would like to emphatically thank the Secretary for her influence and support in bringing the Micron semiconductor chip facility into our community and the greater Central New York community. Please welcome Secretary Gina Raimondo.
Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Good morning, everybody. I have to say, I am so thrilled to be here. This is incredibly exciting. I was a former governor, so when I saw on my schedule that I got to be in a local public school with teachers and principal and superintendent, it reminded me of being governor, a job I loved because I just love being in the community and actually meeting the people who you serve and who you work with. I have a lot of thank yous myself. First and foremost, I have to thank the woman to my left, Randy Weingarten, incredible leader of the AFT. This entire initiative, Randy and I have known each other for a very long time. We worked together when I was governor. But this is awesome. She came to me years ago and said, I have an idea. Will you work with me? I think if you're going to be creating all these CHIPS jobs, we can work with public school system, training teachers to train students to get those jobs. And I said, sounds good to me. And then she got to work with her local, all of the people who are here. Thank you, the New York local, the teachers here, the schools, and we're doing it. We're doing it. It's amazing. And we're going to do it here, and we're going to expand. We're putting almost $2 million into the initiative to expand also to Minnesota and Michigan. And I hope, and then from there, right? Let's go all over the country where you guys are, because these kids deserve a chance. I met with Lucas this morning. The kid's amazing. Micron's lucky to have him. If Micron hires him, you will be lucky to have him. And what he told me was, I want to learn hands-on, right? I want to learn in a hands-on way that's relevant, that will lead to an actual job in my community. And so that's what we're doing here. We're creating the CHIPS jobs, and they will go to students who can learn in a hands-on way the skills that directly lead to a job. That's what this is about. Of course, I want to thank Micron. Incredible. The governor just said that Micron's investment here is the biggest private sector investment ever in the history of our country. It's going to be phenomenal. Under President Biden's leadership, there's more manufacturing happening now, building, than at any time in this country's history since World War II. We believe in making things in America, and we believe in educating Americans to get those jobs. And I also want to thank your great governor. Your governor and I are friends. I admire her. Guys, being governor of this state is a hard job, okay? Just so you know, cut her some slack, because it's a tough job, and she's doing a beautiful job. I want you also to know Micron wouldn't be here if it weren't for her. You need to know that. That's a fact. I was in the middle of helping the negotiation, but for her, Micron wouldn't be here, and but for Randy and the union and the teachers and all of you guys, the students here wouldn't be getting this program. And we're about to invest, as I said, a first investment ever out of CHIPS workforce we decided to do here. And we have another $250 million that we're going to invest in workforce programs all around the country so every American can have a chance to get the skills they need to get a good job. So with that, I want to turn it over to your great governor, Governor Kathy Hochul.
Thank you. Secretary Raimondo, I want to thank you for having your door wide open to us here in the state of New York. I was a brand new governor. We had our first conversation was about how do we land Micron, how do we make sure they come to New York, and we were able to work with Majority Leader Chuck Schumer and the local team here led by the mayor, Ben Walsh. I want to thank him for his engagement intensely. Our county executive McMahon was very involved. John Mannion, our senator, was very involved. But I had the best economic development team in the country, led by Hope Knight. I want to give her a round of applause, everybody. But I'll be brief because I want to hear the question. We are so proud of this. I brag about it everywhere I go. Everybody now knows that this is going to be the home of Micron. And more importantly than having a company come to a physical place here in upstate New York, it telegraphs a confidence in our economy that is contagious. I can't tell you the supply chain companies that are now coming, even 50, 100 miles down the road as a result of this. So we've created a whole ecosystem with the decision to put forth a $10 billion from the state of New York for our own Green Chips and Science Act as well. So this is how government working with local communities can make a difference, but it's all about the workforce. And when I had my first meeting with the Micron leaders, it was supposed to be a quick meeting during a snowstorm in Syracuse a couple of winters ago. It ended up April, right? It went on for hours because I wouldn't let him leave until Sanjay said yes. But he made me promise I would get him the workforce he needed. And of course, I said, no problem. We're going to do it. This is New York. And today is about that. This is about planting the seed in young people and getting them excited about these careers that'll lift their families out of their circumstances. And I thank Micron for going to the heart of the city of Syracuse, where people do not have that chance. They do not have a family member who's going to be able to show them the path forward. We will do that, and Micron's local investments are making that difference, so every child has a shot at the American dream when they get the education we're going to be talking about here today, and also replicating that all over the state of New York. So this is why I'm most excited about this project, if anything, and the Biden-Harris administration made it happen. I'm forever grateful to them as well. Thank you, Madam Secretary.
Thank you. Thank you, Governor. Whoa. Next, I'd like to turn it over to the woman who kicked this all off and came to me, the head of the AFT, Randy Weingarten.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm going to do this. And just do this. And put that there. This is who teachers are. We're like, okay, if that doesn't work, let's do it this way. So I want to, I have a lot of people to thank too. And I'm going to do that in the context of a couple of things I'm going to say. When you are a teacher leader from a union, you don't get the benefit of the doubt. You have to fight for a lot of things to happen. And so when the Secretary of Commerce, when I said to the Secretary of Commerce, I have an idea, it's probably crazy, but I have an idea. And the Secretary of Commerce listens, asks a lot of questions, but listens, and then starts saying, okay, prove it, but let's see what we can do. And when then our amazing leaders of our locals and our amazing leader of our state organization and our leaders of our locals, including UFT and including all the Syracuse locals that are here, and I say, I have a crazy idea, would you trust me on it? And they say, trust but verify. And then the governor says, okay, it's crazy, but we need to. And then you have this company named Micron, who we've never worked with before, who comes to New York, and also April asks a lot of really serious questions to first Michael and myself, and there's a lot of meetings, and there's a lot of meetings with a lot of different departments, and then there's a lot of meetings with Melinda, and all of a sudden there's 10 locals in the state, New York City, and locals like Watertown and Niagara Falls, as well as the 6 that are here right now, and then Onondaga Community College. This kind of network that really starts with, let's give each other the benefit of the doubt. Let's trust our teachers that are here. Let's trust a sense that we really believe in our communities. And we really believe in public education. And we really believe that if public education is about right now in a world where we have to outcompete China, and education is a way of outcompeting, and we have to innovate, it means that our kids need to understand relationships and problem solving and critical thinking and resilience. And that's the kind of work that you're learning, right, Lucas? That's the kind of work that these teachers are teaching. But it's this group of people, the governor, Micron, the Commerce Secretary, Chuck Schumer, who said, we trust you if you have this idea, so that we try to start visioning how to help our communities from middle school and high school on to align with the jobs of today and tomorrow, so our kids can make the choices, starting from high school on the pathways that they want, not just for college prep, as important as that is, but for all of this. So I just have tremendous gratitude that we could take an idea, create the design, make it real, and now getting a grant to bring it not only to New York, the Empire State Governor, but to Michigan and to Minnesota. Thank you.
Awesome, awesome. April, tell us about the Micron perspective.
Yes, absolutely. Good morning, everyone. Secretary Raimondo, Governor Hochul, and my great partner down the table, Randy Weingarten. We're honored to be part of this. And everything that you just heard from Governor Hochul, from the Secretary, from Randy, this is why Micron is here. This is why Micron is able to grow and build and bring manufacturing, semiconductor manufacturing, to the US and to New York, and specifically central New York. Of course, when we were making this decision, there was a lot of due diligence. As you can imagine, this is a big investment. And all of the financials, of course, had to work. But it was so much more. Our decision was so much more. It was about the partnerships, it was about the relationships, and it was about the commitment. And I think you just saw that on display just now. And we couldn't be prouder to be part of this. I want to thank the governor for her co-investment with Micron in this advanced technology framework that we are rolling out and piloting in 10 school districts. $2 million from the state, $2 million from Micron, so $4 million in total to get this thing going. And Secretary Raimondo couldn't be more accurate in like what she saw is exactly what I saw as well. Randy had this vision. Maybe it was crazy for me in the business world. Actually, ideas like that aren't crazy. Like we're in technology, we're in innovation. We have to come up with crazy ideas. But Randy had the conviction, and we're so glad that we decided to form this partnership, co-invest with the state of New York. Now the framework is being deployed, and we're already seeing success, And this is just the first phase. This is just the pilot. Now we get to go scale this, certainly across the state. I'm sure many of you have already heard, we will be creating 9,000 direct jobs over the next 2 decades here in central New York for Micron. But across the ecosystem, it's going to be closer to 50,000 jobs. So this framework is incredibly important to build the workforce that will make these critical investments a success. And so I'm proud to be here today. Thank you, Randy, for your vision. Secretary Raimondo, thank you for your vision for bringing semiconductor manufacturing to the United States. Incredibly important. And Governor Hochul, you're a great partner, and you are the reason. Yes, I know my boss can ask a lot of questions and be tough, but you were on the other side of the table negotiating and really demonstrating to Micron what you will do to make sure we're successful here. So thank you.
Thank you. Before we turn it over to the teachers and have this discussion, I think we're going to hear a video from the majority leader in the Senate, none other than Senator Chuck Schumer. I do have to say this. You know, I said earlier Micron wouldn't be here without the governor, which is true. Certainly wouldn't be here without Randy. It's true. There wouldn't be a CHIPS Act without Chuck Schumer. The whole thing rests upon having the $52 billion CHIPS Act, which is really it's the first piece of huge industrial strategy this country has done in decades. And anyone who knows the senator knows, like when he decides he's going to get something done, to deliver for New York, he does it. He does not rest until it happens. So he can't be here today. Obviously, he's working in the Senate, but to me, he's been an amazing colleague. But you should know it happened because of his just sheer will to get it over the finish line, to deliver for the people of Syracuse and all of New York. So with that, if somebody could please play the video.
Hi everyone, it's Senator Chuck Schumer, and welcome to Syracuse, the heart of America's manufacturing resurgence. I've recognized upstate New York's potential for a long time, and I want to thank a few people helping breathe new life into the region. Secretary Raimondo, who along with President Biden and Vice President Harris has been a tremendous visionary for rebuilding American manufacturing and a true partner in making New York a major center of that effort. Governor Hochul, who I've worked with closely every step of the way to make Micron's historic investment happen here in upstate New York. Sanjay Mehrotra, Manish Bhatia, and April Arslan for their commitment to Micron's investment in central New York. My friend Randy Weingarten and the AFT for their efforts pioneering with Micron to build the workforce of the future. And Ryan McMahon, Ben Walsh, Rob Simpson, and the many other state and local officials who've been there from the start. When I was writing the CHIPS and Science bill, I had Syracuse and upstate New York at the top of my mind. And after years of hard work to get the bill passed, the benefits for our region have been undeniable. CHIPS and Science is the reason Micron is investing in a new $100 billion megafab project in Clay. It's the reason the Buffalo, Rochester, Syracuse region received a $40 million Tech Hub Award, including funding for workforce training. And finally, it's the reason that we're beginning to build out the workforce of the future, starting in the classroom. One of my goals when writing CHIPS and Science was to finally put an end to the days of our children and grandchildren leaving the community because there were no jobs. To accomplish that, we need a workforce that can outcompete the rest of the world. So I made sure that CHIPS and Science included major investments in workforce training to train people today to fill the jobs of tomorrow. And thanks to the important partnerships like this one between Micron and the AFT, upstate New York has become a workforce hub for America's manufacturing renaissance. The partnership is putting in place a curriculum to prepare our students for the thousands of jobs Micron will be creating. This is a model for the nation. I commend Micron for working with labor, signing one of the largest project labor agreements ever, and partnering with the AFT for this workforce training initiative. You have my word to continue working to deliver the federal investment necessary to make these workforce initiatives a success. Thanks again.
Great, thank you. Okay. Great, now we get to hear from the teachers who are on the ground. Oh, 5 minutes away. I had asked the governor how far away the Micron facility was from this school. It's 5 minutes away. It's incredible. I've said this is one of my favorite trips. I travel all over the world. I'm from Providence, Rhode Island. It's not that different than Syracuse. You know, Providence was once like, you know, you see huge, beautiful, grand hotels, just like Syracuse. You know, you see it's struggled because of deindustrialization. And now we're bringing it back, right? That's what this is really all about. Like Randy said, it allows America to compete in the world. So for me, this is like very emotional and an awesome, awesome opportunity to be with you. But I want to start with the teachers. Start with Ms. Williams, who I got to speak with this morning, and then you can turn it over to your colleagues. 2 questions for you. One is, how did you get prepared to teach the students? Because, you know, that's a key piece of the puzzle. And then how are you connecting what the students learn to what they will actually do when they get a job at Micron or another facility?
Hi, everybody. My name is Alexis Williams. Should I take this off?
Here, how about this?
Oh, perfect. Adapt and overcome. All right. Are we better? Is it still on? Oh, okay. All right. Hi, everybody. My name is Alexis Williams. I'm a technology education teacher here at Cicero North Syracuse High School. And I did a few things to prepare for implementing the framework. I kind of first started off working with the CHIP camp. I did CHIP camp with the Micron people for the last 2 years. They offered it in the school district. I then transitioned into, I did the volunteer work with Girls Going Tech, which was awesome, phenomenal, highly recommend. After we did Girls Going Tech, they came and they offered us the opportunity to actually visit the plant in Manassas, which really helped frame everything that I needed to know. You have to really see it with your own 2 eyes to understand the scale of what we're talking about. And it wasn't until I went there to see that everything else started falling into place, and then I could kind of conceptualize what needed to be done. After we went on the trip, then they offered us the summer PD working on the advanced framework, which was phenomenal because for the first time in my career, and I've been teaching for 7 years, not like a huge time, but I got a little time under my belt. For the first time in my career, I was able to work with other technology educators that are not in the building or the district that I'm working with, who are going through the exact same thing that I was working on. And literally up until this very morning, I've had people now from all the way from Niagara Falls to our neighbors next to us in Liverpool down to New York City who are contacting myself. What are you doing with your kids? What's the curriculum that you're working on? What's working well? What's not working well?
that was the game changer for me, and that kind of put the fire underneath me to say, all right, here's the framework that I got. How can I make this possible for my students? So it's kind of, I guess, how I prepared to implement it. Once I got through the implementation, I started writing some curriculum. I'm doing one of the first pilot classes. Lucas is a part of my pilot class. Yes, I think he deserves it. Phenomenal. And one thing that I'm really focusing on out of the framework, and I learned this through the PD, and it all really started to connect together, was we really learn by doing. What did John Dewey say, the great pillar of American educational philosophy? We learn by doing. So once I allowed my students to experiment working with their hands, everything else kind of started to fall together into place. And you do that two ways. We're going to focus on design thinking, and then you also should be focusing on hands-on experiential learning. Once they're getting the experience and they're doing open-ended problem solving, they're going to acquire every skill that they need to be successful in any outlet that they choose. Now, ideally, I'm the technology teacher, so like, would I love for you all to be technologists and engineers? Absolutely, that would warm my heart. But that's going to benefit you. If you could be a police officer, you could be a teacher, you could be an EMT worker. You're going to have to work with design thinking and working with your hands. When you teach somebody how to think, you teach someone how to learn. When you learn how to learn, everything else flows much, much, much more easily. And that is, I have my framework with me. That is the best part about the framework. I want to like yell this to you guys, okay? This framework, it exemplifies working with your hands, which is what our kids need to be doing to get the skills to be moving forward exponentially. Technology is evolving at an exponential rate. Teach them how to think. Everything else is going to fall into place. And the PD really helped me kind of put that together. So I would advocate, if there's any school district, any teacher out there that's going to be working with the framework, bring them to Manassas. Let them see the concept of what we're talking about, but then let them sit together, because we're all qualified professionals. Teachers are qualified professionals. I can't invest in him until someone invests in me. So.
Gosh, she's unbelievable. You're unbelievable. Unbelievable. Brian, you're next. Thank you for taking the extra time, by the way, summers
Mike's
and
not on.
such, to learn the skills. Like you just said, it was a summer program. Thank you. Brian.
Hello? Oh, I'm loud enough, the mic won't matter. So my name is Brian English. I'm from the Syracuse City School District. I'm a technology teacher in my end of my second decade actually doing this job. First, I'd like to thank all of the other teachers that are here. They're doing a phenomenal job, and the panel here. I appreciate being a part of this. As far as my preparation for this, like Alexis said, I've been working with Micron for the last several years on this project and been involved in the conversations with Robert about 2 years ago when I think it first came to Randy, and they created that collaboration. And since then, I've really kind of kept track of the project going on, and I have definitely been excited to do the activities that the union, that NYSET, has developed for us, especially over the summer. We did the summer leadership with Robert, who was there helping lead us, and the rest of the members of the team who worked together with the other technologies teachers, as Alexis said, who really took a look at the framework and how we can implement it. For me, my goal is to do the same thing that I've been doing for 2 decades in education, is get the kids on, hands-on, learning so that they understand. Because if they can see it and they can understand it, it's going to be much easier for them to then think about being interested in and going to move forward for careers in engineering or microelectronics, right? That's the key, right? Is the kids got to get this stuff in their hands to see it. And I'm really excited about that, and I'm really excited about seeing that happen in the classroom. And I'm just looking forward to a good year and hoping that the kids get really amped about it as I am, and the long history I've had of, doing that hands-on work with the students.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right. Third time's the charm, I think. Pretty good. Hi, so my name is Sarah Loudon. I'm a technology teacher at Watertown High School. So we're about an hour or so north, a little bit if you're going towards Canada. This is my 6th year teaching. I love what I do, genuinely. Obviously, as a teacher, you get into it for the money and fame, clearly. But I love working with these kids every day. We have amazing kids, especially some of these that are coming up in this generation. So as far as preparing, we did all go to that professional development, which was great. Going to the facility in Manassas was amazing because you kind of get a picture in your mind, almost when you read a book, and you're like, okay, I think I've got a grasp on this, and then you get there and you go, whoa, okay, there's a lot to unpackage here. But being able to see it and see the passion for American jobs and seeing the variety of jobs, right? Because at the end of the day, this facility, we're not just talking these engineering and microtechnology jobs, which are important. We're talking everything from, human services to transport and all of these things that could impact our large groups of students. For me, I'm really excited to be able to give some of my teaching a why. So obviously we have a why. You go to school, you want to graduate. It's really, it's important. It's kind of a hallmark of entering your adulthood. But for a lot of students, they say, well, maybe my parents didn't graduate. We're doing okay, or they're not going to school, and they're doing okay. I'm excited to give them a why of when you go to school now, you're potentially getting ready for a career, and a good career. You can take care of yourself. You can take care of your family. Right? So giving that little bit of a why to our education is really exciting for me. So I really like to focus on these hands-on skills and even these personal skills, because that's really important. At the end of the day, you can be the smartest person in the room, but if people don't like working with you, I don't know how far you're going to get. So being able to implement this into my classroom, going to this professional development, working with other tech teachers, has been amazing, because good teaching is kind of like kindness, that it's contagious, right? If you get teachers in a group, if you get a group of teachers in a room, you're probably not going to get a word in edgewise, okay? Because they're going to be talking, oh my gosh, you did, oh, I did this, oh, this reminds me. We love to shop talk, and that's really, this professional development was learning what this job's going to be and entail, but it's also building this network of teachers that can communicate and make each other better too. So that was a big part of prep for me.
My name is Brian Wilson, and I've been teaching at Watertown City School District for 26 years, and I come from a long line of technology teachers. My father, 30 years ago, said to me, if you want to stay in the local community, you're probably going to be working in a hospital, you're going to be a teacher, okay? And with this, we have created more opportunities, which is amazing. So I did the Manassas, Virginia trip. I did the Syracuse PD during the summertime. It was amazing. At first, when you start something, you don't really know kind of where you're headed, but being that we're kind of at the beginning of all this, it has really been great to have those professional developments and kind of see where we're going, and it's really created a lot of excitement, not only for the teachers, but for the students as well. So the cool thing about this for Watertown City School District is it has, with not only just amazing opportunities, it's come with some funding, which is always important when these things are taking place, because one of the coolest things that happened for us was with the equipment, we are able to now have a really, really nice technology lab in our high school. And that is amazing because our kids deserve that. So there's been a lot of really, really positive things. And the best thing for our kids and the best thing for our state is having things like this, because we have opportunities here in New York now that we didn't have before, so students don't have to look outside of New York for these amazing jobs and opportunities, and jobs that pay well, have good benefits, and can really bring those guys in there. So I think that's really, really crucial, and I think that's a great opportunity for our kids that they just wouldn't have had before.
You shouldn't have to leave home to get a job, right? This is home for people, and we want to, if they want to stay here, you ought to be able to stay where you're from and get a great job. April, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Yeah, absolutely. People often ask why Micron is investing in things like this. And I think for those of you who are starting to get to know Micron, you are starting to realize and see evidence that Micron considers people strategy as a business strategy. It's not just something extra. Investing in workforce, our existing workforce, our future workforce, our communities where our workforce lives, is part of our business strategy. We spend billions of dollars in construction, in purchasing the equipment that produces our memory chips, in R&D to make sure that we are competitive and we've got leading edge technology. All of those investments, incredibly important, but none of them actually deliver return for our company if we don't have the appropriate people investments. So for us, investing in our future workforce just makes business sense. It delivers a return on all the rest of the investments. And for the scale of the workforce that we are going to need in this region, we're going to have to activate all of our options, all of our resources, all of our school districts and teachers, and partnering with all of the unions to make sure that we can together collectively bring this to life. And that's exactly what we are doing today. In terms of what we're trying to achieve and how we go do that with students specifically, you heard a couple of references to Chip Camp and Girls Going Tech, and thank you, Alexis, for volunteering to help us support those. We require a lot of teachers to pull those things off. We do go direct to students, but we know we just can't reach every student, but educators can. And teachers can. So the more we invest in our teachers to give them this framework, to give them the tools, to give them the lab, they're the ones who are really going to do the work in inspiring students to pursue STEM, to give them the skills and the capabilities so that they can be competitive for these jobs and they're prepared to enter these jobs, whether they want to start the moment they graduate, if they want to start in an apprenticeship program, or if they want to go on to community college or a four-year university or go into the military. And then when they return, they can go through a transition program that we've developed and they can join Micron. Lots of pathways, lots of options, but it starts with the educators, and they're the ones who are going to help make this happen. So we are grateful for the partnership. We know this is going to create the workforce that we need at the scale that we need, and it's going to create opportunities for everyone in every corner of Central New York and across the state. The number is big. We've got a lot of jobs to fill, and we want to make sure everyone has access to these jobs. So thank you again. A lot of work to do, of course, but these investments are going to pay off for all of us in technology, in semiconductor, and in Central New York.
We have a couple of union leaders who are here who made this possible. So I want to start with you, Melinda. I'd be interested to know how do you make it successful, working with these companies, and what are you learning in the process of doing this pilot that has made it successful and that we should, replicate in other places?
Sure. So I want to really acknowledge Micron and the partnership that we have built here in New York State. The trips, as some have already mentioned, were so well received. People had a great time. They got to see, touch, and feel the work that their students will be doing in the future. And having Robert come and co-lead professional learning with us this summer really provided an opportunity for our members to play together and to put computers together and to develop a plan to make learning relevant and authentic for our students. And that is what we crave every single day. Educators are often asked, Miss, why do I have to learn this, right? I got that a lot. And we have great answers for those questions now, because we have been to see the work, and we have been there to actually tell the students, well, when I was on this trip and I went to see the factory and I saw this on the floor, I know how you're going to use this in the future. And so giving educators access to the places, the workplaces, the industry where our students will fill positions of the future, that is how we're going to create the connections that make kids want to go to school, right? That make school fun and joyful. And that's what we're all about, right? We want them to learn, but we also want them to enjoy the work that they're doing and to have dreams and plans for their own future that include well-paying jobs and well-paying jobs here in their community. And so we're so grateful to be involved in this partnership, and we are excited to expand this and to do even more.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, I think for me, as someone who started my career as a teacher, I have enjoyed seeing the excitement in teachers, and then seeing Lucas here reminds me of the excitement of young people who participate in STEM programs, and I think that I'm just thrilled. And I would leave folks with three things. One is part of our goal is to nurture the dreams of students, but also support the hopes of communities like this. And then the last thing is that some of the most passionate and long-winded people, like myself, are teachers, because we have a lot to say. But I also think that the solutions for some of the greatest problems in our democracy sit with teachers. And so I want to publicly thank the educators for taking the journey, and have certainly enjoyed working with all of you and learning from all of you, and look forward to all of the next steps. Would also want to encourage people to look at the Educator Hub that we launched at Micron. It's an opportunity to scale our work for people who can't participate in this, and looking forward to some of the next steps. And the thing that Governor, it's not very public because it's something that we did because it's the right thing to do, is that we supported students in the 10 districts to attend Syracuse University for summer college so that they could take the first semiconductor course at Syracuse University this summer. And it was an amazing success. So just thank you for your support as well.
Educator Hub that you just said, what is that?
So the Educator Hub is a portal that we have created at Micron that contains content for those in university spaces as well as K-12 to accelerate the ways in which the public can learn about semiconductors. And it's on approximately a 90-day update and a refresh. So we try to make sure that every 90 days we meet, are there new things that we need to add? So we're consistently working to add to it. Over time, we're going to add who our supplier is. I'm excited to say that our supplier for the majority of our materials that we work with educators on here in New York is a New York-based company, Teacher Geek. So shout out to Teacher Geek. So the Educator Hub is a tool that we can leverage to broaden the reach and expand the impact.
Great, awesome. Okay, Lucas, you need to tell us why you're doing this. Do you like it? What are you getting out of it? And just tell us how it's going.
Let me think. I like this, and I'm getting out of this because it helps me with my hand skills, and I get to do stuff with my hands, and it's fun. I can change whenever I want. If I don't like what I'm doing right there, I can change and not have to switch jobs or anything. I can just stay in that department. And it's mainly me just being able to use my hands. Like I said, and like all of you guys saying, a lot of people like using their hands. It is very easy for people to learn that way. And if you don't teach people who know how to use their hands that way, it's hard for them to learn. And being able to do stuff with your hands helps you a lot more. So that's why I like being able to do Micron, and that's why it interests me, because I can do stuff with my hands and just think and be natural and not have to worry about listening to someone, because I zone out. Well, I zone out way too much. And I don't hear what you guys say or anything, and then I watch, and then I act like I know what I just heard, but I really didn't. And then it's the same with videos where I just zone out and just do the same thing. But with my hands, my brain just like, ooh, I got something in my hands right now. I'm just going to play with this. And I'm going to see what I can do with this and see how I can change it and how it can suit a better way or make something better or learn how, man, this doesn't work like this. So maybe if I do it like this, it will work like that. Instead of me going, I don't know what this is. I'm just going to toy with it, I guess. It just helps me learn how a material works without having to read a thing, like read a piece of paper of how this material works. I can just take it apart with screws in my hands and just learn how the material works on my own. That's why I like Micron. It's just I get to use my hands.
No, the more I listen, I'm just my jaw is about to drop. When we landed Micron, I never could have anticipated the ripple effect that it has through our education system. And these skills, and I know Micron wants to hire every one of your students, and they should. But to me, this feels like a model for just a template for every school to be teaching students to be able to embrace the new technologies that probably don't even exist right now. And so I hope that we can continue this, and I'm so grateful for Randy and Melinda for stepping up, and Mike Mulgrew, who really believes in this. I just want to ask a quick question of Micron. If you had to identify, 2 or 3 skills that you think are the most important that students learn right now, that'll be benefiting them as your future workers, what would you identify, and do you feel like we're on a path to be teaching them?
Yeah. I'll have Robert talk about the skills that we're teaching today, but I'll say a couple of things, and you said a very important word, skills today. The skills that we're teaching today likely are going to be outdated in 3 to 5 years. So what is incredibly important, and teachers are so good at helping students understand to stay relevant, they have to keep learning. So ongoing learning, problem solving, curiosity, those are actually so foundational, because we can teach you mechatronics and robotics and all of those things today, but in the future, when you finally get into the workforce, chances are a lot of that is going to be outdated, and you have to be able to adapt. But what Robert and the teachers are doing is helping prepare those students for exactly that. So, Robert, do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, I think I would frame it as 3 C's: creativity, consistency, and collaboration. Those are 3 things that we try to bring forward to young people in our work, things that we try to reinforce with our time in educators, but also the time that we spend in communities and with families. Because I also want to make sure that we take a holistic approach to our work, where we've done work with families as well. And so I think those are the 3 things that I hope folks would walk away with as we think about how we can support young people, but also how we can work on this together as educators. And as Brian mentioned, we've been at this for a while. And so I think those 3 C's are critical to what we need to see in the work in schools, but also will translate into the workforce.
So, Randy, the governor said something that, we should expand this, and I agree. So how do we do that? What do we have to do to expand this throughout New York and actually throughout the country?
So let me just add to what Robert said about the 3 C's. I would add 3 more C's, which is critical thinking, caring, which you're hearing all the adults that you heard on this panel deeply care about what happens to Lucas and also what happens to this community. That's another C. And I would also say communication is really important. Because Alexis said it in a different way than I did, about part of what we're doing is teaching kids how to think. But in this era of things changing so quickly, and an era of AI, problem solving and critical thinking become key, because the skills are going to change a lot, and the skill and acquisition is going to change a lot. I'd actually add another C, which you just said, which is confidence. So this is like the SAT words of the day. But in thinking about it that way, as Robert just did as well, it's like thinking about a systems approach and values. And so one of the things Alexis and Brian also said is that we put together is that trip to Manassas. It was really important, and we tried to get everybody to go at the same time. And so there we created a community as well as those aha moments. And then people from Watertown and New York City and from, from Liverpool and from Clay and from Cicero and all the districts actually started becoming a community with each other. So, and then the second was the PD that we did this summer, which is really important too. So all of a sudden the teachers were kind of in charge of and knew more than a lot of other people who were in the room. And the last thing I would say is what Melinda did doesn't get enough attention, which is, so Michael and I come from New York City. Okay, we come from New York City. That's both. I mean, I know a lot of the folks here because I spend a lot of time in Syracuse now. So, there could be a distrust. What Melinda did was say, let's put 10 communities together that are really different from around the state. And April said, yes, this is really important too. So what you have is that this has become a New York State project. It's become a Syracuse project, but it's a Watertown project. It's a Niagara Falls project. It's a New York City project. It's an Onondaga Community College project. So that systems approach that we didn't know it would work, but the putting a bunch of communities together, having the teachers be able to touch, feel, the company being really present in all of this, the professional development. So we started with that kind of systems approach and those kind of things. Now, the harder question is what you just asked, which is Micron and AFT are now true believers. The Commerce Secretary, the governor, true believers. What do we do with the other semiconductor companies? So one of the things by moving into Michigan, which is, we hope, where Micron is also moving into, that starts creating a whole nother community. Polar, Minnesota, a whole nother community. Then what I would actually argue is that we don't just do this with advanced manufacturing. We do this with a healthcare pathway. We do this with a pre-apprenticeship trades pathway. And we start thinking about junior high school and high school as the different kinds of pathways so that teachers and kids can, with their hands and their minds, dream, experiential learning, rethinking what we do in high school, because 60% of kids in America don't go to college right now. How do we align, and Madam Secretary, you are really critical in all this, how do we align the jobs of today and tomorrow with the workforce and the communities and the public schools that we have dotted in every single one of those communities? So thinking about advanced manufacturing as a pipeline, thinking about healthcare as a pipeline, thinking about all these other things. I'll say one last thing. Both Michael Mulgrew and I started in CTE schools. We fought to keep CTE schools. He and I, that's how he and I met each other. He fought to keep Grady open. I fought to keep Clara Barton open. We fought to keep SHOP. We fought to be able for kids to work with their hands. So I was an AP Gov teacher in a CTE school. We understand how experiential learning is really important. Thank you.
Yeah, I didn't know that, Randy. So that's so interesting. What she just mentioned a company called Polar. For those of you who don't know, 2 days ago, we at the Commerce Department made an announcement that we're giving $123 million of CHIPS money to a company called Polar, which makes power chips for airplanes and cars, and the company's in Minnesota. So they're going to with our money, they're going to double in size. And we have to figure out how to do this in Minnesota with Polar. So it'd be great if Micron could help us educate Polar. I don't know. The governor of Minnesota is busy at the moment, but
A lot of room here in New York.
So we'll figure that out later. But we need you guys, everyone. I should be teacher. I'm giving homework. We got to help these folks in Minnesota to do exactly this, because the thing that I've learned, I did a lot of this as governor. You need the company. You really have to start with the jobs. You have to get the commitment from the company to do the hiring. I mean, I don't know, Lucas, how would you be, how do I ask this with not putting you on the spot, but like, you must be interested to take this because you're going to get a job at Micron. Would you be as interested if Micron weren't here?
Yeah, I would. If Micron wasn't here, I would feel like that I wouldn't really need to do it because I would have to go farther away to be able to do it where I want to stay in New York City because it's my home. It's where everyone lives. It's where I know. Well, and I have to go for unfamiliar territory. I would feel like that I would not work at Micron anymore because it's harder. Well, it would be hard for me to get a job there because I would have to travel states and the schools wouldn't be teaching me how to do stuff in Micron anymore. So,
Yeah. So that's the key. And so if we wanted to do this with, say, healthcare, we would have to begin with healthcare companies, hospitals, et cetera, who step up to the plate and say, we're going to help you with the curriculum and we're going to hire the people. Your point on...
And we're doing that with the Bloomberg Foundation. We've done it. So we're doing that. Bloomberg Foundation has done about 12 pilots, of which we, AFT, are in the midst of 4 of those 12 pilots. We've done it in Washington, D.C. We've done it in New York City. We've done it in Boston. But it is, frankly, the same model that we've learned in what we've done with Micron and with you.
That's interesting. You mentioned that someone called me America's point person on AI or the government's point person on AI. So we're going to be building a lot of AI data centers in this country. Take a guess. I was surprised. I met with all the big companies the other day, Microsoft, Google, Amazon. They're building these huge data centers all over the country. I'm sure you'll try to get one or some.
We have our own. I'll tell you about that if you want. We have Empire AI, which was an initiative in our state budget last year. New York State is in the process right now of building the largest supercomputer for AI. It'll be outside of the private sector. So we are democratizing AI. It's a $400 million investment being constructed at the University of Buffalo. And universities and our SUNY system and our city schools have all bought into this. So our teachers and researchers, and we can get federal grants, are going to democratize AI and put it in the hands of the public sector, because right now all those companies are building it for their own use. So we're the only state in the nation doing this, and we're doing it right now. It's underway.
As usual, she's a step ahead. But what I was going to say is, guess what the most jobs that these AI companies will create? The thing that they need tens of thousands of. Electricians. Is any students here? Any high school students? Go be an electrician. I'm not kidding. Electricians and pipe fitters. I'm thinking of this because, Randy, you just said pre-apprenticeship with the trades. Yep. So I was talking to the CEO of Microsoft, and they are kind of stressed, or not stressed, but anxious that this country needs tens of thousands of electricians because these data centers are complicated. The electrical work isn't simple. The cooling systems for all of these chips and such. And those are amazing jobs. Like you were saying, you want to work with your hands. Obviously, you need to know all of these C's, but we got to get on it because those are excellent jobs. You should hear what they're willing to pay for a fully trained electrician, and you'll have a career. You look like you wanted to come in on this topic, Melinda, or anyone want to come in on it, but we've got, these are real. This is real. AI isn't just, MIT electrical engineers or coders. we need everything else, and they're good jobs, and we can do these pre-apprenticeship programs just like this.
Yeah, I was just going to add, there's been an evolution over time of how people think about career and technical education. And I think it's really important for our students to see that this work is respectable, good job work, right? And I think there's been an overemphasis on everyone must go to college, must go to a four-year college, you know, but what's really important is that our students are finding the path that excites them and that makes them want to get up and go to work every day, right? That's what we ultimately want. We've narrowed our curriculum to such an extent that a lot of the good stuff that brings students joy, music, the arts, right? All the hands-on stuff has been really sucked out of our schools, and we're busy putting it back piece by piece right now. But it has to be a priority for us as a nation that we get back to that type of work.
Yeah, that's so true. I've got a note that says I need to wrap up. But I do want to I have a couple minutes left. First, I want to thank you for hosting us, this school. I want to thank the teachers. I really admire you. You've been doing this for 20 years and still bring the energy every day. All of you guys bring the energy every day. Spend your summers learning new curriculum to do this. Every single one of us has a teacher who made us better. So I want to thank all of you. I especially want to thank the educators. I want you to know I'm deeply committed to doing this. But I've learned a few things today that I'm going to take home with me about how to make this successful so that we can replicate it. That is the key. I guess I'd like to give each person just a minute or so, or maybe 30 seconds. And we'll start with you, Robert. You know, what should we know? What should we know? What have you learned in doing this work that everyone here should know as we leave today and try to replicate and scale this success?
I'm reminded that we all need to continue to support teachers in this work, whether it's volunteering in their classroom, whether it's giving money to support like the projects that they may have, the innovations. And the last thing is we need to make sure that we answer when Lucas calls. So when Lucas shows up, somebody needs to answer his email. Someone needs to be there to support him, to take him to lunch. And Lucas, you can call me.
You should. Sarah.
So I think for me, the biggest takeaway, but also thing I'm most passionate about with this, is really focusing on community and being local, right? So Watertown's not a big city. It's relatively small. We lose a ton of our younger population to moving away to bigger cities or out of state because they can't find this good work, right? And to have a successful, I think, community, state, country, you need that solid foundation. When students and young people have to move a lot, they break some important bonds maybe, like, you should be close with family, you should be able to do these things, and a lot of our students really crave that. So I think having something that's local and in the community is going to be really strong to rebuilding, and just for us as people in general, right, having that solid foundation to build on top of, I think is going to make this successful, and I'm excited to see where it goes in the future and how it impacts my community.
Awesome. Thank you. Brian.
I just want to echo what I had said before, is the part that's the most important here is the kids seeing what they're going to be doing. And I've, for 20 years, tried to do that. Like, everything should be hands-on, and everything, like Lucas has said, that's what he was the most excited about and said it a lot of times, is that for us as educators, we need to really show the kids what their opportunities are and show them what is available to them, and that comes in many different forms. It might be that physical form, it might be a video, although Lucas doesn't like videos, so I'll remember that for Monday. But as far as what we're doing here, is this work just has to continue, right? Like, this team that's been brought together is what's going to make this work. The teachers that are part of this panel are only a small part of the larger community, like Sarah is saying. And I think it's just fantastic to see it continue, and I'm just glad that everybody is really seeing the emphasis on this and how important it is, because for a long time, like Melinda said, shop or CTE or trades was a dirty word for a long time, right? It was like, oh, those kids go over to that career, right? It's something for everybody, and that's important. Everybody can be a part of this, and there's a little bit of a piece that they can learn from this and then go on to do any one of those things or any one of those careers that are good, hardworking, blue-collar jobs.
Over the last 18 months, I think the biggest learning for me is the importance of partnerships. And that hasn't always been the case. Over the last 18 months has really presented some great opportunities, but some great challenges. And continuing to, in the private sector, continuing to work and think the way we have isn't going to be a recipe for success in the future. So we have to think differently. We have to think about who can we partner with to go solve some of these tough challenges. And I think it is a demonstration of incredible public-private partnership, and starting with our educators is always an excellent place to start because they're the key to the future. So it is all about partnerships, relationships, and that's how we're going to make lasting change, sustainable change, and really bring all of this investment that the country is making, that the state is making, to bear the fruit that we desire it to bear. So thank you for all of the partnerships, and thank you for your vision.
Governor have something else to say. Governors always have something to say. An event like this just rekindles the passion that I have within me, that New York is always the most exceptional. We're always first. And I'm never disappointed, especially when we start with our teachers. I mean, we have the best teachers, the most committed teachers, and great teacher leaders like Melinda and Randy right here as New Yorkers, proud of that. But you combine that with a company like Micron, that if every company had the same core values as Micron, what a better society we would live in. We haven't even talked about this, but when I had Micron at the table and we're negotiating, I said, I want to see more women, people of color, people who wouldn't have had these opportunities in your workforce. And how they said, what are you talking about? And I said, I need to see childcare on site for the moms who can finally know they can be taken care of. And they're doing it. They're building it. They started building this before they even started building anything else. So I want to lift up Micron and to other companies and say, this is how you get the attention and the resources of a state like New York, because the governor in New York right now thinks this is what my expectations are. You want financial support? I've got it. But you have to lift up the community and help create opportunities for the people that we all represent. So just inspired by this event and the leadership that came out of Washington. I'm telling you, all the calls we had, she was so relentless, saying, I'm going to make this happen. I know you need Micron. I know this is such a priority of yours. And it was a priority of yours. And so one person became the agent of change that we needed to get this over the finish line. And I want to give another round of applause to our great secretary, Raimondo.
So nice. You're so nice. Thank you, Governor. Actually, the truth of it is this program was due to a meeting that Randy and I had at a White House Christmas party 2 years ago, where she buttonholed me and said, hey, I have an idea. We got to get this done. And I didn't think it was crazy. Truthfully, I never thought it was a crazy idea. It might have been half-baked. It was half. So but I trusted her, and I said, all right, go make it work, and here we are. So.
I've been kind of singing the Progress is Possible song from the Suffs Broadway show about the suffragists. Progress is possible, not guaranteed. And then it goes on. What this says to me, what we've co-created together, because every single part is absolutely imperative. That's why the collaboration that you talked about was so important. and we do it. Every teacher does it for our kids, makes a difference in the lives of kids. But this really is the promise of America. The kind of and with we as educators, we see kids' passions and our own passions, and we turn it into purpose. And we need to have, as Melinda said, the latitude to actually do it instead of testing our way to actually do it. But you, both of you, this great governor and this, she will go down as the most impactful Commerce Secretary of in United States history. I really believe that, because you took the industrial policy and vision that the president had, and you made a reality on some of the most important pieces that we have to do in America, microchips. But I just would, so that's the story, and telling the story about progress being possible and the promise of America being realized. That's what I got from this forum. We have to keep telling that story, that progress is possible, and this is the promise of America.
Thank you. Thank you. Alexis.
I'm scared to move this. Okay. So a lot of this reminds me of something I tell all of my students when they walk through my door. It doesn't matter what grade they're in. And I tell them, when those toes touch through this doorway, we're done playing school, because we can't afford to compartmentalize our learning anymore. It's not about checking a box. We're here to prepare for something that you're going to use later on in your life. And I think this really exemplifies to them that I'm not lying. I'm not a liar. This is the truth. You're going to use all of these things to become an adaptable learner. And that's how we level the playing field. I really think the framework does a great job at making sure there's equitable access for everybody to reap the benefits of what we're talking about. Every child in my classroom is going to leave with the same experience. And then someone's there to tell them, this is the first step in the pathway. Here's the next step. A lot of people don't have someone at home to tell them, hey, you did this. Okay, now the next step is this right here. I wouldn't be sitting here today if I didn't have someone to tell me what my next step was going to be. So I think that Micron has done a really good job at allowing me to show them that it's equal access for literally everybody can do this. Everyone can achieve the same goal. But you got to stop playing school. We're not checking boxes anymore. We're learning the skills to give you the skills you need to go to college, get an apprenticeship. You do all of these things, you can go buy a car, you can buy your first computer, then you can apply for more jobs, and then that will take you everywhere that you want to go in life. So that's what I'll leave you with.
Anything else you want to share about the program?
No. There's it's just keep on doing what you're doing. People will go, make it fun so young people like to join and everything. If you make it so there's actually a chance for them to get higher up on the payroll if they do a good job, if they go the extra mile, just because that's the days now where it's just you do something, you go the extra miles, and then you don't get reward for it, and then people act like this generation's lazy when they just don't get money. So why would they work? It's because they're not getting any money, and they're not getting rewarded. So they're gonna stop. They're gonna be not pushing themselves to be greater. They're gonna be at neutral and just coast it and just do the bare minimum whenever they want, and be done and just get paid, and that's it. If there's no reward ahead, then why would you put your efforts into not doing something that won't ever be to nothing? If there is a reward at the end of the line, then people are going to absolutely push to it. It's why, it's just why stuff has changed throughout the years, because people want to change, and so they physically changed it, and they got rewarded for it. That's really it. Just keep on doing what you're doing, make sure that people get rewarded.
Since I have to force you all to listen to me, I'm going to put in my shameless plug, all right? My vision for the program, and I've been sitting on this for a long time, I want to see every kid leave my room with a micro-credential. Like, I think that it is a phenomenal way to motivate them to leave with a toolbox. They're going to leave with a tangible tool that they can tell other people, I know for a fact that I know how to read the multimeter. I know for a fact that I know Ohm's law. I know Kirchhoff's law. I passed these tests. Here's what I can do for you. Now what can you do for me? It's going to motivate them. They're going to leave with something.
Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Melinda.
I think my closing thought is really just looking around at the educators in the room and on this panel, and I'm reminded of the great things that are happening in our public schools across New York State. And every day I am inspired by our members' work and by their commitment. And I know that we will all be better off if we listen to our teachers, listen to the educators. They know best what is best not only for our students, but for our communities.
Well said, Melinda. Brian, you get the last word.
Okay, the finale here. I get to be the last after all these amazing things. But this is ultimately the reason why we're in school. All right, we're creating these pathways. We're giving these kids opportunities. And like I said, in 26 years, I've never seen an opportunity like this. And it's amazing to see that we're not just going with Micron. You're looking at other things for all the people, because not everybody's going to fit in this pathway. But the kids that are, like Lucas, I think it's just going to make really, really great opportunities for them. And one of the cool things is like when Robert was talking when we were in Manassas, we always kind of ask the questions, you know, what are these kids looking like? Because they're always going to talk about salaries, we're already going to talk about that. And I started asking a lot of questions about Robert because they're going to have amazing opportunities, great salaries, great benefits, and things that are going to keep them here. And I think that's just awesome. I think that's just awesome and great opportunities for these kids. And that's why we're here.
Fantastic.